Okay, let's see here. Okay. Testing. Okay, cool. Let's see here. Is everything good on... Okay, looks like we are live. Sweet. Alright, let's see what our quality settings are. Let's do this. Add a little light. Alright. Just seeing the delay here. Alright, cool. Alright, everyone. I am Ray Ron, the Ice Dragon. Welcome. We are doing our first initial test stream here on YouTube. Originally, I'm so used to having everything on Twitch, but I decided to move to YouTube for personal reasons. But yeah, I decided to give this a go and see where it takes us. Let me just get set up here. Get this mic closer. For personal reasons. No. That's gonna echo. Okay, sweet. Now I can see you guys a little bit better. All right, so today we're going to build this roundhouse kit. And light's kind of glaring there. So this is an HO roundhouse kit, and we're going to go ahead and build it today. Go ahead and open the package. Now there'll probably be a few things I modified because I think this kit has the horn hook couplers, and I'll be replacing those with the Katy couplers. So one thing I didn't even realize right off the bat is that this is actually metal. I'm so used to the plastic kits nowadays. It's really interesting. Right. The instructions. Right. And here are the trucks. Alright, so this kit is actually going to be pretty easy to put together. I can already see that one thing I do need to do. Okay, so here's our trucks. Our brake wheel. Okay, so here's the horn hooks. So these are old. Again, Roundhouse doesn't really exist anymore. It was eventually bought up. I can't remember top of my head who bought up Roundhouse. I think it's Walthers, but I can't remember. So we're going to get rid of those. And we're going to put in our Kadee horn hooks. Okay, that's my screws. Okay, so now I have this wonderful box of couplers. We're going to replace it. Alright, so we got those, and I'll put these away. Okay, so these are the new couplers we're going to put on. These are the Kadee couplers. In particular, these are the whiskey, because you can see a little wire right here on the sides. Those I found to be the better couplers to use. Okay. So it looks like we got some work to do. So you guys can see here, there's a little bit of residue when it comes to the casting of this boxcar. So you see there's really no place to put the coupler, so we're going to actually have to trim that off a little bit. Alright, so all of this off. And one thing I think I'm going to do with this as well is we're going to file that down, so that way all the sharp edges doesn't cut us. Alrighty. Move my mic a little bit closer, maybe. Oops. Okay. Alright, so we got that piece looking a little bit better. Now we have space for the actual coupler. Now we gotta do the same thing to this side. Yeah, you can kind of see right there. Got some extra pieces there to shave off. So we'll take care of that as well. Okay, this one's not as bad as the other one, but I'm gonna get all these extra pieces off. Okay. Now I will go ahead and file these down and get all these extra little pieces of metal off so we don't cut ourselves in the future. Okay, so now we got all the extra pieces off, filed down. Now we're ready to go ahead and put these couplers on. So again, I swapped out the horn hooks in favor for these Kadee whiskers. And then one thing that I'm going to do is I'm actually going to apply Kadee grease. This helps the couplers and the whiskey part of it, or the, not whiskey, the the whiskers move a little bit better in the actual box itself. Just gently tap. Gale is it's basically graphite. That'll help that coupler just move in there. There we go. Gets everywhere. Okay, and now we're going to assemble the couplers, and I will zoom you guys in a little bit so you can see this. There we go. This is a little tricky because good old gravity likes to go against us. Let me just get all my parts in order here. It looks like the screw ran away. That's fine, I got that. There we go. Okay. It's a little bit tricky. Now I've got to line up all these pieces. There we go. There we go. Now we don't want to get it too tight because we still want this coupler to move back and forth freely. Okay, and that's pretty good. Now we'll do this opposite side. Just gotta line it all up. There we go. And make sure we're not doing it too tight. We're allowing the coupler to move back and forth. Alright, that looks pretty good. Alright, so next up is getting these trucks on. Now, it looks like I am missing a screw, unfortunately. Kind of just decided to disappear, or I didn't notice that it didn't come in the kit. So we're going to have to improvise. So, luckily, I've learned over the years to have plenty of screws. And I'll zoom this out so you guys can see. So I got pretty much any type of screw that I need. And I want to see if I can find one that'll work for this truck. Alright, so this is the screw in question. So we're going to try to find something close. Now I do have one that's labeled trucks. And it looks like it'll work. Yep, probably will work. Now these screws, I find that there is a standard for these trucks. I'll show you the size of it if I can get this out. So I'm basically using these Atherin screws here. Round head screws 256. And I labeled it truck screws because these are the most common screws I have discovered that works well with a lot of different box cars and freight cars and so forth. So we'll go ahead and try those screws out and see if they work. Alright, so now we'll try our makeshift one here. Now, one thing I like to do, especially with these older trucks, is I want to give them a good wheel spin. I want to make sure that they are freely moving. And I can already tell that this one's kind of grabbing a little bit. So what I'm going to do, so I want them moving freely. I don't want them not spinning, because if they don't spin freely, what can happen is the plastic on the wheels can then slide on the rails, and then you get all that crap on the track. So something that I like to do is actually drill a little bit of holes, or make these holes on the sides bigger, so that way they can move a little bit more freely. Doesn't take much. There we go. Now it's moving freely. Give it a spin. Gives it about a second and then it stops, which is good. That's usually what I like to see. I don't know if the camera's picking it up or not, but just something that I like to do. I'll do it for this one. Now just drill it out. Make the hole a little bit bigger. And especially since these wheels are plastic, because I actually don't have any metal wheels yet. Eventually I want to go to all metal wheels because those are usually the best to go to, but for now I'll just work with the old school plastic wheels. There we go. Now I can feel the wheels rotating, and it rotates for about a second, which is what we want. Okay, so now we can go ahead put these wheels on, and hopefully this makeshift screw will work. Perfect. So something about trucks, what's interesting about it is you really want to pay attention to your wheels and the base of the car itself, because you don't want to make sure that the wheels are rubbing up against it. You want to make sure it's turning left and right freely. So it's a little bit tight because it's resisting when I push on it. So now we're going to loosen it up a little bit. There we go. You can see it's a little bit loose. So something else I like to do, now I still have to test this with other freight cars, but if the coupler cannot be raised or lowered like this one here, what I like to do is put a small little washer under the truck to raise, to put a little bit more of a gap right here, so that way it raises the coupler up and the whole boxcar itself. And I like to put one on this side and put one on this side, but I still got to experiment with other cars, so that's going to be more testing later down the road, but it's just something I like to do. Let's see if we can get this puppy to focus. There we go. Alright, so our makeshift screw did work. And now, put this other one in. Let's see, that is a flathead. Again, we don't want it too tight, we want it a little bit loose. There we go. Sweet. And then the last thing we gotta do is put our handbrake on. And that will go right here. So out of all the glues I've tried out, I always found this Loctite super glue to be one of the more better products. It's got these little squeeze sides here, handles, and the top comes right off. Some of the other glues I always had issues with is that the top always glued to the freaking bottle. So this one I found to be a lot more resilient when it comes to that. So now what we'll do is we'll just super glue it right here. There we go. And we'll just let that dry. Okay. And then one thing that I will do right off the bat, since I'm here and I've got the car in place, we're going to add a little bit of oil to our wheels. So we'll use our synthetic oil from Labelle. I find this product to be really good to have it for. I bought this in a kit that has the grease, the medium weight, and one other thing I can't remember top of my head. I think it's the gear lubricant as well. Yeah. So, but again, this is an HO. I'm an HO primary person. They do have an N scale as well. And then I'll just put some oil to the wheels so that way I know that it's oiled and good to go. Because one thing I cannot stand is the squeakiness from wheels. Nobody likes squeaky wheels. You don't need much, just a tiny little dab. Cool. Okay, so one thing I will do right now, as I was talking about earlier, is the coupler height. So I need to grab my test track real quick. We're going to check coupler heights. So let's see if I can get this in camera here. Still testing all this equipment out. Alright, so this is technically my program track, so I'm going to put it on the test track here. And then we're going to see if it glides. Okay. So you can just see how it just glides on the rail, which is what we want. So our wheels, our axles are doing really good. That's why I do that step of drilling out the holes a little bit, so that way that wheel axle has some more space. So I just tap it and it goes for a few seconds, which is what we want. So now, one thing that Katie has, and one mistake I made is I actually put the metal one. I think they have a plastic one I would have recommend, because then you can actually put this on the track and actually not short out the track, but I don't have power to this test track, so. Now we're going to test the coupler height. Okay, so one thing I've already noticed is that the I think it's called the airline or the air hose underneath the coupler itself is grabbing. See, it's not connecting. Yeah, you guys can't see that, but basically what's happening, this is too low. So Katie again makes a special tool to bend these little guys right here. Some people actually cut it off completely. I just take the effort in just bending it. So now what we're gonna do is we're just gonna bend it ever so slightly. There we go. So it doesn't take much. And now we're going to basically do the opposite side. And do the same thing. Because I already know I'm going to have issues with this side. There we go. So now we got that bent up. We should be good to go. Kind of important that you check that, because otherwise this car would have grabbed like turnouts and railroad crossings and so forth, caused derailments. I've seen it all the time. This tool, I cannot stress enough, is very, very good and very important. When I had my last train meet at our local club here, I use this tool a lot. You just never know when those couplers are gonna snag on something that you least expect. So I definitely always have a pair on those on hand. Okay, so it looks like we're doing good. The height does look good, so I don't need to add any washers underneath the trucks. And that's pretty much it. And then if you were to replace like these wheels, you just do everything in reverse. Take the screws out, take the wheels out, and replace it for the metal wheels. It's really, really easy. And again, I would just definitely loop it up, so that way it doesn't squeak on you. And that's pretty much it. If you guys found this video informative, feel free to leave a like, share it, subscribe, leave a comment down below. Again, I'll try to see if I can do more of these streams. I'm slowly getting the setup going so I can do more of this stuff. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.